Hi everybody, nice to see you all. Let me know you're here if you are here. Today we're going to draw some um, bunny ears. It's a special type of succulent. It's also known as bunny rabbit ears or Monilaria. So we're going to start with a little shallow planter like this. And you can put lines on it if you want, or shapes. And then at the bottom there's a sort of circular structure. That's the section that links the plant to the ground. And then it has two sort of folding sections that the succulent comes out of, like this, almost like a casing really. And then out of that we have a third layer which sort of folds around the bunny ears in a circular form, but it has a sort of almost like a wrapped feeling to it. So here we go, like that. So it's structured, quite a structured top section. And then out of that comes these long, and they grow quite long. They start off quite short, but towards the full growth time they grow quite long. But you can see that they look a bit like bunny rabbit ears, or even hare's ears. So if you want to do them slightly shorter and then they look a bit more like rabbit ears, then you can, but they grow quite long and I quite like them long, so that's how we're going to do them. Okay, so they are green and they're a sort of middle tone green. So if we have a little bit of, we'll go for the cadmium yellow this time, into a little mixing section, and then add a touch of something like a sap green or an olive green. So you get a sort of a nice warm green colour. And the warmth comes from the addition of cadmium yellow and not lemon yellow. Remember, the lemon makes the green cold, so it's best not to use that, and best to use your warmer yellows in your set. Most people have cadmium yellow because it is the medium yellow or mid yellow or primary yellow colour, so that's quite well known, whereas the lemon yellow is an unusual colour, not often found in larger watercolour sets. You would find it and you might have to buy it if you don't have it in your set. But if you have a small set, you tend to have cadmium yellow, ultramarine and cadmium red as your primary colours. Now as we get down to this is a bit darker. So I'm going to add a little bit more green into that mix, just to darken it up a bit, just a touch, you don't need much, just to make it a tone darker than what's above it, into those lower sections. And then the bottom bit is like a crispy case. It's almost like what you get around the base of a daffodil flower. So it's a crispy case which the plant grows out of. So if you use a little bit of brown maybe, or and a bit of yellow ochre, which is that sort of browny yellow colour, and just mix up a sort of middle tone brown, then that should do it. Something like that, you can see. Okay. And if you wanted to put some shade on one side of your succulent, you could by just adding a further layer of that colour. So if you decide which side you want your shade, so I'll put it on the left, and just add another layer to it like that. And you can do the same with your greens. So if you wanted another, this is just called glazing. It's the addition of a second layer of paint just in those left-hand sides of your structures. Now you can see that that has behaved slightly differently because the paint underneath is dry. So just be aware of that. If you don't like the hard line that's showing itself there, I mean, you might like that, then you can just sort of soften it by just adding a little touch of water onto it there like that. Okay, so in the same way you could lift off, we've done lifting off of highlights. So you just take a dry or a semi-dry, if you've got a bit of rag or whatever, clean your brush off and then just wipe it off on a rag so it's not too wet, and then you just literally go down one side, the opposite side to where your shadow is, and you lift off a little bit of paint. You might not be able to see that too clearly, but I assure you it's there. The highlight is there. Very delicate because, you know, watercolour is very delicate. So sometimes the shadows and the highlights are very delicate. So if you like, just keep going and do that. You can do that to every single item on this succulent. So the brown casing, the little growing section, and the leaf. Okay. And then we've got our pot. So what have we not got? We've got purple, we've got brown, yellow. We haven't got any orange yet, so let's do some orange. So we've only got 3 left on this page, and then I'm going to have one on its own because I've got 2 pages of 15 cacti, and I couldn't get the final one in. So I'm going to do, for the final cacti on the 31st of January, I'm going to do a full-sized one, and so it'll be bigger. It won't be a mini cacti, it'll be a full-sized one, and I'm probably going to take a little bit longer painting it. So if you want to do one and make it into a card, or you can send it to a friend, you know, then you can join in with that. I'll give you some more details towards the end of this month. Now we've got orange. Let's see how this colour, actually, let's do a blue tone. I just want to show you how these colours spread. So this is wet, and we're going to let it spread a little. Let's let it bleed a little bit. So I've got some phthalo blue here, and I'm just going to let that do its own thing. This is the magic of watercolour, just letting it spread where it's still wet, and that creates a little bit of texture. And while I'm there, because we've got 1 minute left, I'm just going to put in some very dark green, just using a little bit of the olive or something like that, and I'm just going to put it, I should really use a fine brush for this, but I've got this one in my hand, so I might as well just use it. If you want to be more precise, use a fine brush. So the one that's slightly behind the other, just put a slightly darker shadow in, so that pushes that one back and brings the other one forward. And then you can do the same but with a slightly lighter shade, ever so slightly, on foreground on the shadow side of the other. So just a slightly lighter. You can lighten that up by either adding a little bit of water can you see now? And then down here where it's in the dip, you can put a little, if you can see it, that is, just put a little bit of colour down there. How are we doing? Oh, 1:11. I thought we had more time. And I'm just going to put a little bit there as well. Just in that dip there. And here. And here. And here. Okay, we'll leave it at that. So there's your bunny ears, Monilaria. Thanks for joining in, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now, everybody. Stay safe.